You did?
I did.
Okay. Is it off still?
You can't cut it off. It's just a cut.
You're dancing today? I show live. You want to go ahead and get started? Sure. I think we'll be fine. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Landis Board meeting. We would like to thank everyone who is viewing on YouTube, or if you're here with us live. We want to thank you. If you come back and view our meeting later on, we appreciate you coming back and thank you for taking initiative to pay attention to the things of the town. At this time, I will ask if everyone could please stand. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will have a moment of silence, and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, we will move to adopt the agenda.
Mayor and Board, before I make a motion for us to adopt tonight's meetings, we need to
We got to stop. Your mask. Sorry.
No.
No? Okay.
They can do it with my mask on.
Okay, try it. Take it. Maybe nothing's new.
This is better all guys to include as a to consider with the Department of Transportation that I'm adopting.
Do we want to recess?
I think so. To adjust
11?
yes, 11. Consider additional members that have been added prior since the package was
Okay.
up there. Today, still the list has been updated.
Okay. Is that good? All right. And we have a second. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. At this time, we will go to citizen comments.
Ms. Terry?
Nadine, 410 West Garden. I've been asked why the carriers are being side. Yes, agency, but I have questioned the coordinator in the town of about this. I hope we're looking at, in other words, tax citizens. This essentially vehicles being on the sidewalks, the sidewalk to be rebuilt with new sidewalks. I keep hearing citizens the cost they are being told for the sidewalks replace. I am hoping this does not be out that was held Tuesday of last week. The event was not ADA compliant. The bridge was not ADA compliant. A person in a wheelchair, motor scooter, or other could not use the bridge due to the fact it was not flat on the ground. It was raised up at the end, not allowing accessibility, which in my opinion was not ADA compliant. Even the soccer field was not accessible due to the fact you go down almost way the soccer field was ADA. So AMC land under ADA, you were required to be ADA compliant. I will leave you with this. I will show the coordinator that knocked off, and he really did me to show them this problem. As my 3 minutes, I will and when you the one the town. The one thing to know the committee all into existence. And thank you, my concern.
Move on and we to adopt a minute. Have a
No.
Go to our hearing.
Board, I move we open the annexation public hearing.
Favor?
We do not have comments for section of the public.
Any
Happy to question.
I think we have.
I move to close.
Second.
Any discussion?
This time, I'm considered in the corporate include 080 Cannon ordinance number 1-0.
Any discussion? All those in
Consider ordinance amending the map for the Z 2020-08-1.
any all over.
Aye.
We will move to 8.
We zone hearing as map 1 parcel 1 and tax 29 parcel Brook 70 US.
Any discussion? Those in favor? At this time, have any?
Mark Dahl, Ministries, and I have just a question actually. Don't get to, but we got there. The planning board, another one they did. One of currently it's our part grant class sometime, and that calls a issue.
Can you your yes?
Property owner is building. The other one is that we currently move out that either a building or classroom, which was part of our church. The board agreed to rezone property.
Answer that. Mr. Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Actually, the plan recommendation is a recommendation. Have any or okay recommend the board and the why recommended not have anything you that says that the planning board one versus both. Question, but not for them. They vote. They do, and they have the ability to do that. How it works takes the public's, but they also take into account the plan. The plan looking at it from the picture across the town. Property surrounding typically and then this is the distinct of getting throw up in the air and make the final decision. So with some lead in, I'm gonna yield back to you in just as I explain to you that because the different than the request, you see two drafts represent board's recommendation. So they in front.
All right. Do we have a discussion between?
So, once I think based on that, may have some
Basically, have to go through this process. Having if we combine the lots in one lot into one deed, having to do this again in months or two.
Right.
But literally, we may take that property down. So if, and again, I know nothing about zoning other than what I've learned in this brief time. It's just, so I'm just like to have all with one shot, so we have to come back.
Right. Okay.
God's money, $bucks to do that. So
Understand. Any discussion between board members?
May I ask one question?
Sure.
You get a separate bill for,
we do.
you actually tax bill.
Yes, we actually pay tax on the
that
rental house
property.
because it is of the parcel. I mean,
And
the
if
church.
the church itself, you get a tax bill on that.
That is correct.
And it's separate tax parcel, but not a bill that you pay money for.
Well, there's a building on it, but we
Not a, excuse me, bill, B-I-L-L, tax bill,
tax bill on the second property. There's a bill on the church.
not on.
Correct.
Okay. And the second property is, it's rental property, is that fair?
It's currently rental property, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
And it would not continue being rental property.
At some point, move out, it will no longer be property once that, and like I said, we've been, it should happen sooner than later.
Okay. Okay, and no questions for Mr. Flo?
Mr. Flo, if you'd to while you're in the active discussion, I can read it black and white, but tell me what the planning board recommends.
Okay. First thing I want to do is suggest to the members of the board, look, there are two exhibits with that agenda item that outline in blue the two different properties. They're plotted at a different scale thanks to the wonderful world of technology. The one looks bigger on the map than it really is. The one that's marked Exhibit B is indicating the primary church property, what I'll call the primary church property. The one that's marked Attachment A is the second property where the residence is today. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, discussion, there was concern about going beyond what the immediate use was, because this was one of those things where when the original zoning was done earlier this year, and I'm glad that the counselor raised the questions about the tax bill, because one of the things that it showed up when the research was done on every single property in town was that this property was not owned by a church that was like a nonprofit 501c3 type of organization. It showed up as a corporate name, Brook Ministries Incorporated, I believe is correct. And so it did not signal to our staff that it was a nonprofit.
Okay.
I could name myself, kind of anything, as was his philosophy on it. So neither property showed up as being, and we checked on that, and we inquired about that, was it a nonprofit? And neither one showed up that way. Now, if it's otherwise recognized by the IRS or somebody like that, or by the county tax assessor, that's fine, but it didn't show up in our research. So with that background and information, the planning board was looking at the two as one is a bona fide church, then civic makes sense. The
Right.
other one, it was not, and it didn't have any criteria other than the fact that it had common ownership, but it was not in use or anything like that. And that was I think the factor that caused them to sort of separate the two out. I can't say exactly why, but the motion was made to recommend one but not the other until at a later date there was a decision as to whether it needed to be or should be part of the civic property. I hope that, Mr. Alderman, addresses your question to the best of my ability. I know it's a little vague, but it's all I can share because it's all I know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Stewart, do you have any more questions?
No. After heeding the guidance of our counselor and also of Mr. Flo, and also looking at where we're at property-wise, and hearing the intent of Mr. Dalton, spokesperson on behalf of the Brook Ministries, clearly the function is there of civic use, minus the current status of it being a revenue generator through a rental. So knowing that their future intent at some point, either near term, short term, is to pull that in for church services, that makes my decision a little easier.
Okay. All right. Would you like us to vote on these separate?
I think we first need to close the hearing.
Right, but once we do that,
There's
there's just one?
There's
Just
one
choose
ordinance, but you have two drafts.
Okay, so just choose.
They have the same ordinance number. There's just two drafts. One includes attachment B, which is the larger church property. I'm going to call it church property. And the other one has attachment A and B, which would include both the house
Perfect.
and the church property.
Okay, do I have a motion to come out of?
Can I ask one additional question?
Sure.
This residence, attachment A, did I understand you to say at one point in time that was the parsonage?
Yes, at one point before we came along, it was just a parsonage, and now, of course, it's been rented. I think the church there prior to us rented it also to the same folks that are there. We have never used it as a parsonage. We don't ever intend to use it as a parsonage. Like I said, when they move out, we're either going to tear it down because we haven't seen the inside of it. Kannapolis Real Estate handles all of everything for us. We haven't even seen the inside of it. We're either going to tear it down or refurbish and use it as classrooms or office space.
Okay, and as I understand parsonage, typically, that's ownership by the church and utilized by the pastor, whoever's attending the church at the time.
That is correct.
And, okay, so that would be a church and civic use.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess it's not uncommon from time to time churches to no longer utilize their parsonage as a place or residence of their pastor. And I'm just questioning in my mind at this point, how many situations do we have like that throughout the town? And prior to us moving forward on adopting what I see as one ordinance that says, yes, we're going to disallow it because of it's no longer used as a parsonage. I'm wondering what way do we treat all the other churches in town?
So I can speak for First Reformed. Theirs is their office building now. That's where they're,
That would be clearly a church use.
yes.
I guess what I'm asking is where there is rental of that property that was formerly a parsonage
Right.
as something other than church use.
But I think that he's saying that they won't do that. Once this person comes out, it will become a part of church use
Okay.
from here on out.
And I can speak from just a bit of experience. So few churches, at least in my purview, use their church parsonage now. Most pastors have their own place and have a housing allowance, so that's rare, at least in what little bit I know.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yes, Mr. Flo.
If I can add, since I was, and my staff was working on the assessment of the land use and evaluating these different sites around, Counselor, one of the things that we have seen, not just in Landis, but in numerous towns, is the parsonage oftentimes, if it's contiguous or adjacent or built on the same premise, it's all part of the same parcel. And so we run into that quite often. And so therefore, even if they rent the house, the former parsonage out as a house, if it's part of the primary tract, it's just considered an accessory on that primary tract. In this case, it's kind of interesting because it appears that it was actually carved out of the primary tract at one time, because if you erase the line between parcel A and parcel B, as they're shown on those exhibits, we'll call it, it looks like it used to at one time be a nice little rectangular parcel. So it looks like it's gone in one direction and then maybe zigzagged in another direction, and now it's coming back in a different direction. So I'm glad that's y'all's decision at the board level and not mine.
Well, you know, and that's what it would appear to me. At some point, it was cut out. And what I'm suggesting to you, if you're not going to allow them to treat it all as church property, we probably need to hit the pause button and see what we're doing in other places. Because I suspect in most instances where the parsonage, even where the parsonage is not contiguous, is located somewhere else, I'm assuming that the county and the town doesn't charge tax to the church for that parsonage when the minister's living there. So it's an interesting question.
Absolutely.
In order to clear this up or clean it up in the future, I don't know which Rick needs to answer this, would it make sense to put this all under partial 129, 111 and do away with if the church would agree to that, it'd be up to them to do that.
That would be probably a very logical solution in this particular case, where they are contiguous to each other, but they're not on the same parcel. If that was one parcel, I think it would have been an easier decision for easier recommendation for the planning board to get behind. But the fact that it was really not in any form or shape or another of use related to the church at this time. Was there a reason for, I can't say was there a reason, but I think that was kind of evident that they felt that it was not really the question of is it church property or not. Just because it's owned by the church didn't really mean that it's use. And keep in mind that in this ordinance is really not about ownership. This ordinance is really about land use, what's going on there. It doesn't really matter who owns it, okay? And that's, I think, the foundation, to get back to your fellow alderman's question earlier, that's probably the foundation of the perspective that the planning board member that made the motion had.
So this may be inappropriate for me to ask, but I'm very curious. I'm going to step out there. Mr. Dalton, is there a reason that you don't want to make this one contiguous property?
There's no reason whatsoever. When we bought the property, we bought it just like it was deeded to the previous church, and I think, and again, I don't know what that building was built as. I don't think it was built as a church originally. But we have no problem doing whatever, combining the deeds, doing whatever we need to do. And again, this is not life ending.
So I will say, I'll speak a little bit on Landis First Methodist. They had a parsonage that was considered their parsonage in the lot right beside of Fifth Third Bank. It's the home that they're redoing. They're selling theirs. I had spoken with them a couple months ago. So Landis Baptist Church, they're selling theirs. It's on up there. I'm just trying to kind of talk about what other churches are in town, and they're talking about, I don't know any other churches that would have them.
Well, obviously where they're selling them and the new owner's converting them to a different use other than a parsonage, then you don't have this dilemma.
Right.
If the intent of the church is to convert what is now a parsonage into either eliminating it, make it an office or something, and to convert it to the church use, then I'm assuming that the church would not be opposed to converting it to all one parcel.
Yeah.
It would make it easier for the town. And the way you go about doing that is you've got track 1, track 2, and you just simply say that the above parcels are combined into one tract and named the primary tract for future tax purposes. That would be one way of approaching it. But my concern or issue in beginning to talk about this was that I would hate for us to get ourselves into a position where we were treating especially churches differently. We don't want to side with the Baptists or the Free Will or anybody else. We want to treat everybody alike.
So, Mr. Locklear, if they chose to make this one parcel, would we need this or either of these ordinances?
I don't know that we would. Maybe that would be the solution, to table it right now and combine.
Mr. Flo?
The ordinance that contains both A and B would address the land area that's made up of these presently 2 parcels. It would not be appropriate to make any condition. This is not a conditional process, right. So it would be inappropriate to add any stipulations or conditions such as the recombination or what have you. So the potential to, if that's the part that would make everybody comfortable, then Mr. Locklear's suggestion to possibly table this to allow them time to do a recombination. And they can do that with a recombination plat or probably with a deed instrument, either one, because both actions are exempt from subdivision regulations. You're just putting it back together.
Right.
However, at that point, though, Mr. Flo, wouldn't parcel 129, 154, wouldn't that still have to be addressed in this matter?
Correct. And then, but so what we would do is we could revise this ordinance to reflect one new recombined parcel, and then that would be the version of the ordinance that would actually be suitable for you to amend. Because you can, now that it's before you, you can amend this ordinance as part of your motion. So if it's tabled and they do that, and that's what you choose to do, to approve it with them recombined, then we could simply amend this and you could adopt that amended version, which effectively takes A and B and makes them one.
Okay. Mr. Dalton, if you would step up, is that something that you would, go ahead,
Let me
sorry.
say one more thing on this, that to get to Mr. Locklear's point a minute ago about to make it consistent, that is one of the reasons that the new development ordinance actually moves all of these types of things into one district, civic, and that is so that the same rules apply to all the churches in town rather than a church in a commercial zone versus a church in a residential zone that might have different standards. That way, it's intended to level the playing field. So this would be the final step to totally level that field.
Mr. Dalton, we've thrown a little curveball in this. So what are your thoughts?
I see how government works, huh? It gets more complicated than simple. Wow.
A little like accounting.
Exactly. I'm good. If you just tell me what I need to do. Like I said, it's my understanding that being zone civic allows us a few more freedoms than if it's zone commercial.
Right.
This all started with us wanting to build something else there. So, if we need to table, then we do what we need to do and come back.
I think that would actually be your best bet.
Okay. Then I'm fine with that.
Okay, we will close this hearing, and you can get with Town Manager Seaford and Mr. Flo, and you guys can kind of work that out, and we can either bring this in September or October, whenever it comes that you guys have prepared that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
All right, at this time, do I have a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and C does not need to be anything. So now we will move to number 9.
Number 9 is public safety recognition and update. Dr. Lachetti?
All right, good evening. We have a couple things to share with the town tonight and the board, and a couple recognitions to make. One of the first things I want to do is thank everyone who participated at National Night Out. We had a very good event, good turnout. The weather held off, something we're very hopeful for, and it worked out. We got all kinds of positive feedback, and we're hoping to make that same event even bigger and better next year. Some of our sponsors,
phenomenal.
Yeah, we got that kind of feedback, so
That's
we're very
great.
happy about that. Some of our sponsors, obviously the YMCA for letting us use their location and facilities, Cheerwine donated drinks, Pinnacle Corrugated here in Landis donated funds, which we use to pay for the bounce houses that are out there for the kids. Med Center Air and Novant Health both landed their helicopters out there, and we had DMV and High Patrol and other agencies out there, as well as the Brook Church, Aqua 14 Ministries, Ice Cream was out there, and First United Methodist Church of Landis had snow cones. So we had a lot of community involvement, a lot of good feedback, and a really good event. But tonight specifically, we want to make mention of one strong supporter of the town of Landis, and that is Woodmen Life, Chapter 111 here in Landis. Tonight we're joined by Michaela Koffler and Dr. James Shaver of the local chapter of Woodmen Life. As you know, they're big supporters of the town and of public safety. At National Night Out specifically, they donated free food catered by our local Enough Gary's Barbecue. They provided drinks, raffled off prizes for the community, including a $300 Yeti cooler. Previously, in addition to National Night Out, they gave a $500 donation for our body camera initiative, which we'll talk about later, is rolled out in the town currently. Previously, prior to that, they helped secure an electric motorcycle for the town. After I got here, we realized that the need of that motorcycle has changed. So with their permission, we surplus that item, received $7,500 for that electric motorcycle. Combined with their $500 donation, we put a total of $8,000 towards our body camera and taser initiative on behalf of Woodmen Life. And go back one step further, in November of last year, they donated $300 for the fire department for COVID-19 PPE. So I say all that to mention that you can see the reoccurring theme here is they're big supporters of public safety in the town of Landis. And tonight we'd like to formally recognize Woodmen Life, Chapter 111, Dr. Shaver and Miss Koffler with a award presentation, if you both could come forward. So on behalf of the town of Landis, So on behalf of the town of Landis, we would like to present you a award, our sponsorship award, and plaque for your continued support of public safety, for everything you did for National Night Out and everything we mentioned previously. Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate your continued support for the town of Landis.
Also tonight, we have the pleasure of recognizing one of our employees, Detective Sergeant Dakota Toms. Tonight, we want to recognize him and present him with his intermediate law enforcement certificate. If he can go ahead and come forward. The Professional Certificate and Award Program recognizes the competence, training, and education of law enforcement officers. It encourages professional development through formal education and career development classes and training. The intermediate certification is awarded only after receiving a combination of years of experience, education, and professional development. This award highlights the dedication Detective Sergeant Toms has to this profession and the services he provides to the citizens of Landis. Detective Sergeant Toms also has gone above and beyond by being a duly certified public safety officer who now covers shifts at both the fire and police departments when needed. It goes without saying, this award is well deserved, and congratulations. Next up, we have another officer with us tonight, our newest officer, Anastasia Shimiko. If you'd like to walk forward. So this is the first board meeting that Anastasia, Officer Shimiko, has been an officer sworn to the town of Landis. So we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce her to the town and the town administration and town board. Officer Shimiko completed BLET at Mitchell Community College in May of this year. She has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Mitchell Community College. She's been married for over 7 years and lives in Mooresville with her husband and has one child. She was raised in Russia, Ukraine, and the Czech Republic and speaks fluent Russian and Ukrainian languages. She also does martial arts. We're very excited to have her join our department. She has a very strong interest in community policing. She was very passionate about that during her interview process. That really resonated with us, and we've already seen her out in the community interacting with everybody, and we're happy to have her here and start working with us to build those relationships. So we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm a graduate of Mitchell Junior College, 1966. We did have running water and lights.
And lastly, I'll just share a few public safety updates from both departments. On the fire department side, we had 19 applicants apply for 4 current open positions. 3 of those are new positions for firefighters previously authorized by the board. The 4th was a replacement for a employee who has since left. So out of those 4 positions, we had 19 applicants. So a lot of interest in joining the Landis Fire Department. Today, we actually extended offers of employment to all 4 applicants, so we decided to move forward with. And we have tentative start dates for Wednesday, September 8th for all 4 applicants.
Awesome.
So we're very excited to have them join Landis Fire. I'll give you a little background information. We ran a comprehensive hiring process new to the Landis Fire Department. Consisted of a physical ability test, so an actual physical assessment, included running, climbing, dragging, pulling, a lot of different things that were task-oriented to the role of firefighter. They had to complete a written examination, practical exercises, and a panel interview. And after all of that, we're very confident that the 4 people we extended offers to today are the most qualified and the best suited for Landis. We currently have our employees at the fire department, both volunteer and paid, finishing up their annual physicals. There's a few left to complete the process, but we're committed to ensuring that their safety is being met and that they're ready for work by doing this annual medical evaluation. We also recently increased our part-time salary for firefighters working part-time. Initially, it was a little over $9 an hour. Now we're a little over $12 an hour, and that makes us more competitive with the surrounding fire department agencies. That's been well received by the department and has been a good morale boost. I also received word that we passed our 9S minimum rating inspection from the Office of the State Fire Marshal. That is our minimum rating inspection. We expect to know our new ISO rating within the next few weeks, probably by the beginning of September. We're currently in ISO Class 4, but we're very confident that we'll see a significant improvement in our ISO rating coming up. I also want to let the citizens know that we are about to begin our annual hydrant maintenance next month. This will include flow testing this year on the hydrants. We have to flow hydrants, and citizens may witness water in the streets and/or dirty water. Any water discoloration should first be addressed by trying to rinse the lines at the house, usually by utilizing the outside spigot or running your bath water. If that does not work, you can contact Town Hall, and the fire department and our public works will come and reflush the lines. When we do this process, which is required by the state, the sediment that gets trapped between the fire hydrants and the house sometimes will cause discoloration, but we're going to begin that process next month. To date, between January and today, we've received over 543 calls for service at the fire department. Of those calls, our average alarm response time to dispatch to being on scene is approximately 4.5 minutes. And that includes a 911 call, the dispatch, the receipt of that call, driving to the scene, and checking on the scene, all within 4.5 minutes.
That's awesome.
Very good on the fire department side. We've also installed several car seats. I want to remind the public of this free service being offered by the fire department. They can show up or make an appointment. And we're currently finishing our revision of our fire department policies and procedures. We actually have a meeting tomorrow, and we hope to have them finished within the next week or two. Moving on to the police side, obviously National Night Out, you heard about it. We're very happy with the turnout and look forward to next year. We've completed training, and our officers are now wearing and utilizing the new body cameras and tasers. So those are rolled out officially to our officers. As you met tonight, we have our new hire, Officer Shimiko, with the department. We also have one part-time applicant currently in the background phase to see if they will join our department as a part-time candidate. I also want to thank the town administration and the board for their support of the $1 shift differential for our third shift officers. It's been a big morale boost and been well received by the staff to see that type of support. We're also contracting with our police attorneys that we utilize, Smith, Rogers, and Aldridge. We're going to be conducting an evidence room inventory and audit through their office. This will help us inventory and audit our evidence and ensure that we're doing things properly and efficiently. We are still waiting on replacement patrol rifles to arrive. They have been delayed due to COVID, but we hope to have them within the next 1 to 2 months. We are also starting a new procedure for collecting police-related fees. For any member of the public who needs to pay for low-speed vehicle registration, alarm registration, or fingerprints, payment will now be taken at Town Hall and a receipt provided to give to the police department. At time of payment, the public will be given information about how to schedule an appointment and contact the police department via phone or email. And on the police side, we've completed our update of our policies and procedures. Some citizens may have noticed we put those on Facebook. They can actually go on Facebook on our public safety page, see our police department policies and our strategic plan. That's 2021 through 2026. We also look forward to getting those on the website once it's available for our new town website moving forward. So that's available for the viewing public. And then just a staffing update. For the police department, we currently have 11 full-time police, myself and Kevin included, 3 part-time officers and 3 reserve officers. And on the fire department, it's currently 5 full-time staff. We're bringing on 4 new hires, so we'll have 9 full-time staff, and that's actually 12 if you count myself, Kevin, and Dakota, and then 12 volunteers, so 24 total personnel on the fire side.
Awesome. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will move to number 10, but can we table that if you guys are okay with that? We are looking for one more planning board member. If you are interested in being on the planning board, if you could please email Amber Levi with the town, that would be awesome. And they meet every Tuesday at 5:30. I mean, second Tuesday of the month at 5:30. Not every Tuesday, I promise. Any other information for that? We'll just table that until September. We'll move to number 11.
Number 11 is consider nomination for the Passive Park Blue Ribbon Committee. Mayor, I will attempt to go through this list, but I'm just going to say some of these names are a little beyond my southern ability to pronounce. So I will do my best not to embarrass myself or anyone else. Please do not take it personally. We have these folks emailed to Amber and requested that they be considered for the Blue Ribbon Committee. Ben Smagatz, Tabatha Stewart, Megan Cleveland, Shasta Deese, Amanda, I don't have any idea. I'm just going to call her Amanda P. Amanda P. John Hall, Ryan Nelms, Summer Fall, Carrie Corbett, Shelley Morgan, Pamela Urban, and Nadine Cherry.
All right, at this time, due to Katie's absent from the meeting, we will get together with the 2 staff members and the 2 board members, and we will go through the list of emails that we received, and we will go from there. Thank you to everyone who would like to be a part. We do look forward to seeing who is able to attend those meetings, and I know there's feedback. I'm trying to figure out where to stay. And we will go from there. We do appreciate, I think at this time we have 12. I think that is the most that we have ever had for anyone to volunteer for a committee. So we do appreciate that, and we will come back to that after we are able to view those resumes or requests.
Absolutely.
All right. We will move to number 12.
Number 12 is consider a budget amendment to purchase new trucks for Public Works. Please find attached 2 budget amendments that will enable the Street Department and the Water Department to purchase new trucks. The water truck will be partially funded by insurance proceeds. Unfortunately, I don't think the funds from the insurance will be enough to replace our current truck. This amendment will cover the difference needed for that purchase. Joe Halliburton has brought to my attention a significant need for a new truck in the Street Department. I believe that this truck is a need and not a want. Unfortunately, I did not hear about it as part of our budget process. To fund the truck, we have several surplus items that I think will bring in around $15,000. I think we can also reduce the utilities line item by $5,000. Finally, Brian has been working with South Rowan to provide them with mulch. This has eliminated our need to have the pile hauled away this year and should save the remaining $8,000. Please consider approving this budget amendment in addition to meeting a need. It will go a long way to starting a rotation program for our vehicles. And the first one, the first budget amendment, which is amendment number 1 for this year, is for the 20 fund, which will pay for our water. And then the second amendment for this year is for our street department, and we'll cover that vehicle as well.
Ms. Seifert, what was the amount of insurance?
We don't have that number yet. We have not received it. We have an estimate on what we kind of think it will be. So we wanted to make sure we went ahead with one. It was easier to bring you one amendment that will cover both of those, and we should not have a substantial difference. If we do, we can address what to do with those funds at that time.
At this time, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion to?
Are the surplus items that are going to be used, or are they going to go up on auction
Yes.
just like we did last year?
Yes. We're planning to do that within the next month. And you'll also see that this is increasing your capital outlay and decreasing your contingency. So you have a contingency in the water fund currently that is not allocated to anything specifically. That, along with the difference in what we budgeted, we've been able to use the state contract to purchase the 2 trucks. So with the difference in what it's going to cost us for one truck, plus the insurance proceeds, we think we can now purchase 2 of those trucks.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to consider budget amendments for public work truck purchases?
Mayor and Board, I move that we consider approving Amendment 1 and Amendment 2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We will move to 12A.
12A is consider an agreement with the Department of Transportation. Please consider giving the town manager, Diane Seifert, approval to authorize the attached agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. This agreement is required for us to enter into contracts for street paving through state contract. The agreement allows the North Carolina Department of Transportation to do work on non-state roads within the municipal town limit. The agreement also allows for work to be charged against the Powell bill. With this agreement, we will be ready to move forward with street paving in town. We have received a number of requests from citizens for an update on that progress. To put it simply, we can contract out the paving ourselves and pay a lot more per square foot, or we can join larger contracts and get a lot more for the same dollar amount. As manager, I believe the best answer is the latter. That means that we do not always control the timeline. In this situation, we will be part of a September bid package that will target work to begin the latter part of March 2022. While we are having to wait a while for the work to start, this will allow us to address more needs throughout the town. Please consider authorizing me to move forward with this agreement and method for meeting our street paving needs. Thank you.
At this time, is there any questions?
I need a few minutes to read this since we got it just as the
Oh.
meeting was starting.
Okay,
Give me 1 second. I do have a few questions.
okay.
I apologize for
That's okay.
Well, we have this, we just received this agreement today. The state has been working on it for us. We thought we already had one of these. Apparently, it's a bit rather common thing to have with the state is this particular agreement, but ours had expired, so they needed us to go ahead and we wanted to get it to you this month instead of waiting until September.
Ms. Seifert, what's the term of this contract?
It's 2 years, and it can be automatically renewed.
And the last sentence of the scope of project is all work should be done in accordance with departmental standards, specifications, policies, and procedures.
Yes.
That seems to be superior than what, it's above and beyond what we would do
Correct.
on a non-state maintained road, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So that's improvements.
Yes.
Any issues with the indemnification of right-of-way, for example, the hold harmless for any claims or damages that might arise on account of damage to public or private property and right-of-way acquisition, drainage, construction easements? Very typical, I'm assuming, in this DOT contract, but that would put the onus on us as a town.
Correct.
If something above and beyond were
If
messed
they
up.
ran a truck into someone's home, we would be responsible.
Yeah. However, under the large contract, we would still be in a favorable financial position than us doing it by ourselves.
It's probably saving us, I would say it would cost us 2 to 3 times as much to do it on our own.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Mayor
this-
Board, I move we consider the agreement from the Department of Transportation, giving Diane Seifert, our town manager, approval to authorize the attached agreement to NCDOT.
I second it.
Any discussion?
No.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will move to 13.
Number 13 is a report from the code enforcement officer, and that was distributed to you. We received it today as well. So I wanted to make sure we included that to give you an update on where we are. Part of that agreement, we have had one more change to, or we've had a discussion on today that I will be reaching out. 314 Town Street. We have confirmed that that property does not currently have water or electricity. And we had the code enforcement officer check on that. He went out in June and spoke with the resident, and they were supposed to be obtaining water service. They still do not have water service or power, so we have requested that he move that up on his priority list. He will be reaching out to those folks as soon as possible and working with them to either have a change or consider a different option for housing.
Ms. Seifert, if you don't mind, while we're on the topic of code enforcement, it's obviously an important topic to me, as it should be for all citizens. So would you describe the best protocol of how you would like administration to hear from the citizens as it relates to a nuisance or what is a perceived or an actual code violation? Could you just vocalize that for
Absolutely.
those that are watching?
So anyone that has a concern about a particular code enforcement, or you believe that you have someone near you or someone in town that is not in compliance with our current code, you are welcome to give a call to the town and ask to speak with me. You can send an email to me as well. My contact information is on our town website. I'll be more than happy to talk with you about it. We do outsource that to InFocus. Mr. John Gaines is our code enforcement officer. And I know for some of our citizens that have done that already and have properties that are here on our list, we will also have this uploaded as part of our package. So if you are one of those folks that has already reported an issue, you'll be able to see where that is, what the status is of it. I know that this seems long and hard for people who are dealing with a situation near them that is less than pleasant. However, it is better to make sure we have dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's prior to taking action. So Mr. Gaines specializes in that and ensures that we have done all we can to give a property owner an opportunity to come into compliance prior to moving forward legally with them having a choice not to be in compliance. So please don't hesitate to call Town Hall, ask for me, or send an email, and I will be glad to provide your issue to Mr. Gaines. He will then go out and check on that property and determine if it is a nuisance or if it is not in compliance with our ordinance. Then it will be added to this list and addressed. So that's the process for reporting an issue.
Thank you, Ms. Seifert.
Thank you. We will now move
To number 14.
14.
Consider a finance report. So this month again, we just have for you a list of our balances, a schedule of cash balances. We are continuing in the process of closing out our year. Our auditors were here last week for their final field work. We are making a few more journal entries this week that will adjust those year-end balances. So next month, you will be able to see both a year-end June 30th, 2021 list of revenues and expenditures and their balances, And we'll also have for you your first 2 months of the year with July and August for this year. Quite honestly, we're off to a slow spending start, which is a good thing, which means that you don't have a lot of activity yet in most of your accounts. But by next month, we'll have 2 full months behind us, and we'll provide both of those for you at that time.
Under restricted, Mr. Stewart, you see the fourth one has been corrected? Okay. All right, at this time, we will move to number 15, the manager's report.
So I am excited tonight to start my manager's report with the introduction of our new Public Works Director. We have with us tonight Mr. Joe Halliburton. If you'll come forward, Joe. Joe has been gracious enough to join us this evening long after his regular work hours, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
But I want to introduce Joe. Joe, I could not be happier to announce, is our new Public Works Director. And he has been in our electrical department for over 14 years. His expert knowledge of all of our systems really could not be matched by any of our other applicants. He knows, while he is an expert in electrical, he also has been here long enough, and we are a small enough town that often we have to take our skill sets and cross over to other areas. So in addition to our electrical department, he also is very familiar with our water and sewer and is proficient in those skills as well. Personally, I am thankful to Joe for applying and for being willing to step up and take the next step in leadership. It is always satisfying to be able to promote from within, and I know he is going to be very successful at what he is doing. Would you like to make any comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Congratulations.
Joe's a little shy, but he did tell me he came prepared today. And I am very, very thankful to have him. We could not be in better hands with him leading us. As is usually the situation, the town's departments have all been busy, and I want to, in addition to the public utilities department, give you a brief overview by department. In administration, Bernita Demery is helping us with finance in a consultant role. Ms. Demery has over 20 years of experience in local government, comes highly recommended, and is willing to help with recruitment for a permanent full-time officer. We are fortunate to have her as part of the team. That position is now currently posted again on our website for anyone that might be interested in applying for a finance officer position. We would like to fill that position on a full-time basis as soon as possible. Amber Levi has prepared benefit statements for all of our employees and is holding meetings to discuss the results with each employee. This is just one more thing that she is doing to help with retention and build relationships. She has also been working diligently on a drug and substance abuse policy for the town. We found out last week that we are subject to additional requirements because we are receiving federal funds from the American Rescue Plan. Therefore, it will be next month before we have the policy reviewed and ready for your review. That is something that we are sending. Rick will be sending it your way for review, as well as reaching out to the League of Municipalities for their blessing on that policy. And we look forward to bringing that to you next month. As I mentioned earlier, our auditors were in the office last week for their final field work. You made the right decision in going with Martin and Starnes. I am confident you are going to receive the most comprehensive audit done in the town for many years. I do expect them to have some recommendations for improvement, but I don't anticipate any issues being egregious. The good news in all of this is that implementing their recommendations will make us even stronger and better. Dr. Laschetti did a thorough job earlier this evening updating you on the recent updates to our public safety team and our police family. He also thanked our sponsors for National Night Out. I want to take this time to thank our sponsors, but in particular, I want to thank all of our public safety employees for the work they did with the event. I don't think Landis has held an event for the program in 4 or 5 years. I had a number of citizens say, I've been here for 4 or 5 years and we've never done this before. So I am glad to see that we had a great turnout. The program has come back and it will continue to grow as we move to future years. It certainly would not have been possible without Dr. Laschetti and his team. A big thank you to all of them. We expect to make conditional offers to the 4 additional firefighters, as he explained, 3 of them new budgeted positions and a vacant position. And again, thank you to Dr. Laschetti and to Amber for their part in that process to select those candidates. I can tell you from listening to Amber that it was an extensive process that really was as unbiased and meant to be as fair as it could be to everyone. The physical part was impressive, and I think the test taking on the knowledge part was challenging. So I think we have definitely ended up with our best candidates. For recreation, Jessica has selected playground equipment for the Wilderness Park. Unfortunately, like many other things with COVID, the lead time is 10 to 12 weeks. I will keep you posted when we have an install update. This is the last week that the pool will be open for a full schedule. Hours starting August the 11th will be Monday through Friday, 3 to 8 p.m., Saturday 10 to 6, and Sunday 12 to 6. The last day the pool will be open for the season is Monday, September the 6th. This has been our first year in quite some time of managing pool operations, including lifeguards and house. Overall, I think it has been very successful. Jessica will be looking at next process of the pool to include visits our pool, predominantly Landis from out city limits, needed to improve the product. What we learned cost for new success. We'll be bringing a rig and the other months. Church will be with recreation for our last summer night on August. But everyone team is also in county to celebrate Creek Week. Our week demonstration August the 20th, 10 a.m. Park is also children under 12 free the full week. Please check and look for more details. Only plans for the fall October 3rd. Already has a vendor signed up base. She is still for both vendor and sponsorship. For more information, please email .com. And the operator serve the town of
This time we will move to board. Mr. Overcash.
Again, for the, that was on the seat of base operator go doing that again. That's all.
Boyer. You got me. And then I'd like to thank every national participated in our leadership. We truly appreciate us and our is very us. Thank you. Do want to sign up for is available in I will process that that you her. I would also like think every it's positive to say the things that we do was not okay. You want gratification to have or not. That is something that can't happen. All things that I yesterday. So the 5 board members, we've put a lot of thought into things. Town manager and as who does that works for this that's here is a brighter future. We're going to step forward and we're going to keep moving. And if there's next, well, or just not quite, we're moving on. So I appreciate what you do, and I will ask a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We adjourn the meeting. Second.